would people be able to like strap on some robot legs and participate in a race? Christina Smith, you are head of athlete relations for the Enhanced Games, kind of like the Olympics on steroids. I don't know if you would describe it as that.
We're definitely the next generation. We're looking at all technologies from robotics, artificial intelligence, DNA modification. I mean, this is part of life.
Amazing.
We don't have drug testing, so we're not looking for cheaters, but we're looking to protect athletes. We have 5 different categories. So we have athletics, aquatics, we have combat.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty surprising to me because that has to cause overall more brain trauma to have enhanced athletes fighting each other.
The Serene Desiree Podcast.
Christina Smith, how are you?
I'm great. How are you down under?
So good. So good. Loving Sydney life as usual. And you're in snowy Calgary. So I think you've got a little more snowfall than I do right now.
That's right. Yes. No, I definitely like to be where you are. But then again, the skiing's great here.
Yeah, it's not so great here. You can take a piece of cardboard and slide down a grassy hill. That's what we've got. It's comparable. It's not quite the same though. So you are head of athlete relations for the Enhanced Games. I'm so excited to talk to you. The Enhanced Games, I would say, is kind of like the Olympics on steroids. I don't know if you would describe it as that.
Well, I just know that we don't have drug testing. So we're not looking for cheaters. We're actually on a very developed and substantial health test that we put athletes through. So we're looking to protect athletes, to make our games safe. And that's really our primary focus.
Amazing. How do people respond when you tell them that you work for the Enhanced Games?
They just want to know what it's all about. And the more I give them details, the more excited they get. And I've only had a few people kind of come to me as if like, are you serious? But otherwise they're pumped. They want to watch this. It's like high octane Olympics.
Yeah. I saw something about Peter Thiel investing in the Enhanced Games a few months ago. And since then, everyone I have talked to in person has known about it. I mean, it's just become like a viral sensation overnight, essentially.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. We get flooded with emails and just from athletes from all over the world that want to participate in our games. There's investors that are interested. There's, sponsors, broadcasters, venues. Like it's amazing. So we're definitely the next generation. We're the 21st century, dialed in and, we're looking at all technologies, from robotics, that's where science is going, and artificial intelligence and DNA modification. I mean, this is part of life. This is, if you've been living under a rock, you're missing out because there's so much coming down the pipe. And we really want to embrace it. And if you don't do things, if you don't keep up, you're going to be left behind. So we're really all about educating people about what's available in enhancements, from the natural enhancements all the way to the pharmaceuticals. But we do have parameters. We do only endorse the FDA approved compounds for enhancements. And there's one thing that I might add is that athletes, they're adults and we're not policing them. And we really believe in bodily autonomy. So my body, my choice. And that's very important for us. And also education. So bringing it out from the shadows, as we say, into the public eye so that people know what is available and how to do things safely. Always consult your clinician, your doctor, because there's curiosity out there, anti-aging, longevity. People are wanting to know, what does Hollywood do? It's been going on for decades, and now people are super excited. So, I mean, enhancements are everywhere, from Botox, fillers, people wear contacts. Those are forms of enhancements, but of course it goes further.
You mentioned robotics. Would people be able to like strap on some robot legs and participate in a race?
Well, you never know what's coming in the future, right? And we've been approached by robotic specialists and, scientists in those fields that are really excited about, maybe having a competition of a human, against a robot. Wouldn't that be exciting?
Yeah.
So we really, there's things that are being developed as we speak. And, what you see in the movies potentially will be around us at one time. There's so much changing.
I have a feeling this could really push forward new technology, because when you have competitions like this, you have a lot of people striving very hard to achieve a singular goal in a way that they might not be doing if they're just working in a regular job trying to get the next product out.
Technology is very big. We have, of course, even during my time with bobsleigh, it was not just about your body. It was about your machine, your bobsleigh, your mechanics and, from aerodynamics, the chassis, everything. It was a huge part of our sport, just like Formula One is, NASCAR racing. You have, all sports have some form of equipment, whether it's a speed suit or a tennis racket, golf club.
I'm very interested in that. Your time as an Olympic bobsledder. First of all, to me, it comes off as such a kind of a strange sport. Like, I don't understand the mechanics of it. Like, it seems like, everyone's so synchronized but I don't understand how much athletic ability comes into it, because you're running and you're pushing this bobsleigh, and then everyone if you've never seen bobsledding before, you have to watch it, because everyone just moves so precisely alongside of each other and then jumps in the bobsleigh. And then I guess you're kind of just turning it. Like I don't fully understand. Like, do you need to have an exceptional amount of athletic ability? Like what makes a really great bobsledder?
Well, powerful legs, explosive legs, explosive, just your muscles are what is going to move that sled. There's no engine. You're the engine. You're the machine. So you and your partner, or you can be, we have actually 3 different types of sleds. So we have a monobob, which is for a one person. And then you have 2. So, 2 men or 2 person or 2 women bobsleigh. And then you have a 4-man or 4 person, because now they also permit mixed teams. So it's, and actually with the monobob, women normally compete in it. However, in the Youth Olympics, men and women compete in it. So it's definitely a sport that requires very good mechanics, like with the sled, but also mechanics on your body. So you are training just like a sprinter, but at the same time as a power lifter, so you're very strong, but very fast, and you're able to move a heavy object. And then you jump in like ballet, kind of synchronized like swimming, and you get in the sled. Sometimes you have a mishap, and that's, of course, makes for entertainment. But most of the time, everything is precise. And then myself, I was a pilot and or a driver, and we direct the sled down the track. So you adjust your steering according to what you need to do at the right spots, and you feel the pressures and the G forces that you feel. On some tracks are up to 5 Gs. So that's like 5 times your body weight kind of crushing you down. So if you're a driver, you feel the pressure down, through your body. But as a brakeman, you're folded over. So you really feel a lot more pressure in the back. Wow. And so you're steering it down. And then, of course, there's no brakes until the end. So that's where your partner will put the brakes on if it is, say, a 2 or 4 man. sled, or if you're the mono, you do it yourself. So it's a lot of precision. You have to have very, finesse in driving. So you're able to be aggressive, but then control yourself and be able to breathe, very with control and be put together, for the run so that you can execute properly.
I have to ask because of the topic that we're in. Did you see people using a lot of enhancements in your time at the Olympics?
Do you know, I was so oblivious. I was completely like, I never, ever, ever thought that this was going on around me. The only, I would say, thing that I was focused on was looking at ways to better myself, to be the best that I could be. And I had an amazing naturopath that introduced me to vitamin intravenous's. And so that's essentially, through an IV that goes into your arm, and it would help me recover from my hard workouts, would help me with jet lag. It would help me it was just like a power pack of vitamins. Now, never did I think that something like that could have been considered an enhancement because you're putting it through a needle in your arm. Or the other injections that I was receiving were, again, all natural, prolotherapy, neurotherapy, ozone therapy. It was the way that I could, say, recover quickly from injury, recover from just hard workouts. I never in a million years would have thought that would have been an enhancement or considered that when it was pure, pureness into my body. It's funny because I had approached our Canadian Sports Center and I was just very open about what I was doing because, again, the last thing my naturopath would ever want to do is to put me in harm's way. And I shared, what I was doing with my sports center. And they looked at me as if I was proposing, performance enhancements that were, of course, not legal. And I was mortified, and my naturopath was mortified. And we just thought, how narrow-minded could they be, So even when we went to great lengths to do pure and natural things, they were still back then had such a stigma around enhancements that were natural. And, of course, other things that were going on. It's more so since my retirement that I've heard more about things that were going on. And also being, with, the Enhanced Games and speaking with a lot of the athletes that are reaching out, from Olympians that have been banned. But it was wrong, they didn't purposely, take enhancements. It was either something that they were told that was found in their sample. They believed that they were even scapegoats because other teammates were actually doing it that they knew were doing it. So there's a lot of scandal around sports and things that really upset me. And it really, it just makes me look back at things to think, I almost don't want to know about it. But the thing is that now I feel that there's a bigger purpose in being an alumni of the Olympics is to be more aware, is to share lived experiences, is to be able to better this next and, bigger, better 21st century version of a games that is just so much more elevated. They have an amazing business model. I mean, I can't say enough about it.
So I'm wondering, are athletes going to get compensated for participating in the Enhanced Games?
You bet. The ones that we're actually looking for very, athletes that are in that caliber of wanting to break world records. and are really capable of. So we're looking at a smaller version of a games. We're looking at 5 different categories. So we have athletics, which are the track and field events, aquatics, so swimming and diving, so anything in the pool. We have combat, which is wrestling, MMA, boxing.
You're gonna have MMA, really?
Yes.
What, and boxing? That's
That's
pretty surprising to me because you have you have strengthened athletes who are going up against each other, giving each other head injuries. Essentially, that's so interesting to me.
Well, sport is dangerous. Sport, there's a lot of danger, and I don't think people really appreciate it. And the fact that they haven't been paying athletes at the Olympic level, other than, of course, if there is money to be received, it could be coming from the government, so from taxpayers that fund, medals and some, money during the month. But there's countries that don't have that. And so we're really elevating the respect, the appreciation for athletes. We're really trying to make it on par to, the Formula One, PGA, NBA, Grand Slam, all those guys, right?
Can I ask, how much do athletes get paid? How much will they get paid for competing in the Enhanced Games?
They haven't determined numbers yet. We have had something really exciting that's happened. James Magnuson, from Australia. I don't know if you've heard, but, he's actually, basically, said to us, say, look, I will do enhancements safely. I will come out of retirement, cause he was a very successful Olympian, and I will, go up and try to basically break a world record, in the 50-meter swim. So it is, really exciting. We're celebrating him, but he's also said that if they give me $1 million for breaking it. So we have, said, okay, let's do it. And, we're making sure that everything is, again, done safely. He's very much, open to, enhancing also his swimsuit. There's so much technology that can be contributed there. It's a really neat journey that we'll be on with him.
Is he going to use flippers?
I'm not sure, but that's a good question. We'll have to ask.
I feel like that could help.
Well, you never know. There's always, the future. Only the future knows what it holds. And I think that all these things to enhance people will be coming out. And what's really exciting is the para athletes, the disabled, athletes. They have, arms and legs and, robotics that are starting to be developed around that area, and they're enhanced. That's how we look at them. So there's very well, that opportunity that we may have, events that they're right up at the line with, an able-bodied, Olympian, that's going for the 100-meter against a Paralympian, that, is jacked up. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be so exciting.
I'm still hung up on the MMA thing. I mean, what, like, that has to cause overall more brain trauma to have enhanced athletes fighting each other.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate about, around brain injuries, and, I've suffered brain injuries from bobsleigh. I was never diagnosed with a concussion. However, like 8 years after retiring, I was asked to an event that was a charity fundraiser for brain injuries, and I went as an Olympian to support it. And the there was a doctor, Dr. Tracy Thompson, that was on stage presenting, saying, you know why we're here, and you may not realize it, but you may have a brain injury. And she started mentioning all these symptoms, and from like short-term, long-term memory loss, depression, anxiety, fear, inability to focus, you know, emotional deregulation, you know, or mood control. I mean, all these things. And I tell you, I was checking off the boxes, and these symptoms that you know, that I was hearing from this woman were things that I was noticing at the, say, latter part of my career as a bobsledder and into retirement. And it was really concerning because I thought to myself, you know, am I getting Alzheimer's, you know, things like that, forgetfulness. But I just knew that I wasn't myself. And so I went through years really dealing with things, and it was really almost gave me peace of mind, literally, when I found out that, oh my goodness, maybe there's something going on inside my brain. And she proposed a brain map, which was basically, it's called a QEEG, which records the firing of the brain and the function of the brain, essentially. And I was able to find out that the areas that I was having issues pertain to the symptoms that I was experiencing in life. And so if your hard drive isn't working, it really affects the rest of you. So there's a lot, and I appreciate, you know, your discussion around, you know, the potential of brain injuries and things. But I really have to tell you, I believe it's a pandemic in sport. It's rampant. And I believe that mental health, a lot of people that are dealing with that, is actually a symptom of a brain injury. Now, people are not clear about how to identify a brain injury, or, you know, what could cause it. And it could be as simple as slipping on the ice, falling on your bum really hard, and the vibrations going all the way up to your skull. It could be, of course, you know, somebody being in a fight, somebody hits you. You could be in a car accident. You don't need to make any contact with like hitting the dashboard or the window or whatever. It's purely the deceleration of your head, you know, that occurs, that, I mean, it smashes on the inside of your skull. So there's so much that people don't know. They say that in studies, 50 to 70% of the homeless were actually not homeless prior to a brain injury. And yeah, and there's a lot of like abuse that goes on with families, that, you know, they never knew that, say, the father or the mother had, you know, an injury that then affected their emotional regulation. So they were more violent, they were more angry, or maybe they were on the other side and they were more emotional, you know. And so alcoholism, drugs, I mean, that's an addiction. And those are areas in our brain that pertain to, you know, controlling those centers. And so if you have things that are imbalanced, you then could suffer a lot of different things in your life that, you know, people don't even think about, that pertain to the function of our brain. So that said, we actually have been looking at brain function and how to say, you know, look at protocol around the brain and how to safeguard the athletes' brains and just their health in general, because they're looking at a full spectrum health analysis for athletes. And that costs way more money than any drug test. Drug tests are already expensive, but again, they're looking for cheaters. We're looking for health and wellness of the athlete. So we're looking for pre-existing illnesses or, you know, genetic stuff going on in an athlete. We don't want athletes to, you know, collapse in competition. We're not looking to endanger anybody. So we're very much about proactive health and really about education. Because I think people look at athletes as role models. And when you are starting to remove a stigma around something, you know, and you're presenting through the athletic world, people will start to really start to adopt it and realize that, you know, performance enhancements aren't a dirty word. And the more you talk about it, the more it will appear like a rebellious act. And I think that that's a big thing that, when they took out or brought in cannabis in Canada, they made it legal. And there's actually indication that now it's no longer kind of a big deal to like try to, sneak some cannabis, or especially with younger people, it's not as, people don't really care anymore. So it's not as cool as it used to be, when people used to be rebels. So there is a shift that's going on, and we're leading the way with the enhanced games.
So if an athlete goes through the medical procedures and it turns out that their health is in danger, will you stop them from competing?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's, we're not about endangering anyone. I mean, that's not our ammo. It's not about just the entertainment or the money or the publicity, exposure. It's about safety, number one.
I wonder what the guidelines for that are, because for instance, there's definitely a spectrum of danger, right? Like there's short-term acute, like you're going to have a heart attack in the next few weeks unless you do something. And then there's like, this is going to shave some years off your life in the future, potentially. So for instance, like if somebody's taking 5 times the regular dose of testosterone and they're bigger than their natural body might have physically gotten, it's going to be harder on their heart. It's going to be their body's going to be functioning differently than it otherwise would have naturally, but they might not be in immediate danger. So I'm wondering if you know where the cutoff is of like when you would stop an athlete from competing.
Do that's definitely not my area of expertise. We may have to resort to the scientists and the clinicians to discuss that more. However, we really are treating athletes like adults. We're giving them the power. We're empowering athletes to decide, my body, my choice, what I truly want to do for myself to reach my goals. However, every person around the world, if you do get, say, an aspirin bottle, well, within the aspirin bottle, there's directions, what you should take, what the side effects are. There's so many things, from side effects from alcohol, from sugar, from processed foods, and those are causing a pandemic around the world with type 2 diabetes, obesity, alcoholism, even as far as death, So there's people that abuse the system, which is abusing their bodies, improperly nourishing themselves. And then you get, yes, those other people that try to abuse themselves in other ways. But I truly believe that the athletes that are looking to be the best, that are already at a level that is superior to most, that they do not want to jeopardize themselves. We weigh our food. We read directions, and ingredients. We take such pride in our temple, and, you are what you eat. Like, we are so, like, the best people that have like the most refined, immaculate diets are bodybuilders, I I just think that that is where this is a beautiful discussion to bring out those stigmas, what people stereotype as, they see that, real extreme, but, they don't know how immaculate they are in so many areas that the general public is not. And they're in more danger jeopardizing their health with the improper diets that they do. They eat and, lack of exercise, mental health. There's so much that we can learn, with what athletes do, but at the same time, what we will bring forth and create a transparent environment and an educational environment. We'll have science conferences at our games as well to encourage, the education. And also to know, the latest and greatest of things that scientists are inventing and coming up with. And yeah, so I really hope that we remove the stigma and create a more educated environment.
Mm. Will it be public knowledge what the athletes are taking?
It depends on their choice. So they choose if they want to make it public. Wonderful, because it advances science. It advances our ability to really observe, what may help one, may not help the other. We'll be going through tests that scientists will be willing to, do research on athletes that are willing to participate. And so that in itself will advance, us as humans in general, with this knowledge. And I really think it's a really cool, purposeful dimension that we're taking. It's not just about entertainment. We're really elevating so much. It's a movement. It's a revolution at the same time for athletes and also athletes that not only will get compensated for their hard work, their achievements, their world records, but they're also going to be respected by being compensated as well. And they're able to, some might be, diamonds in the rough out there in the, little Timbuktu town that is just looking forward to showcasing their talents, and they'll have that opportunity to potentially be part of our games instead of them being, restricted by having to go through their federations and such. So it'll be very much individuals that can participate in these games.
Mm. So there was an ad that I saw that claimed an athlete had broken Usain Bolt's world record, and it's an anonymous athlete. Can you tell me more about that?
I haven't met the athlete, but I know he exists. But they're really keeping that tight. So I think that if anything, it's going to be exciting at our first games to see what comes out of the woodwork. Again, we are in communication with some very, very, high level athletes already, successful ones as well, medalists. And so you'll be very surprised who comes over. And the beautiful thing is that we accept allies. So natural athletes, that, they don't have the pressure of, nobody has the pressure of being on enhancements. It's just, we're really trying to encourage, the allies to come. And the fact that, there are many other events that don't have drug testing or, the WADA, system. But, why wouldn't they be able to participate, the natural athletes to participate in the Olympics and also participate in our games? If there's no concerns with their drug testing. So, we're open, to make our platform also educational to the Olympics, because with our testing and, things that we discover through our scientists could potentially make their WADA testing even stronger and more effective, because there's a lot of athletes that slip through the cracks that are doing enhancements at the Olympics. And, so nothing's perfect on their end. Absolutely.
What percentage of athletes would you say are using enhancements in the Olympics?
Well, there's reports that show 44% of athletes, like Olympians, have been known to have done enhancements. Now, again, I don't know what level of enhancements. I don't know whether it was through protein powder, because I was petrified as an athlete to take anything that had like all these ingredients in it, because you just didn't know if things were tainted, and I mean, I was worried about using poppy seed dressing, like it was unreal, because they said that, what is it? Poppy, from poppy flower, right?
You can test positive for heroin if you eat enough poppy seeds.
There you go. And I mean, I was like, I do not need my salad with poppy seed dressing.
Not that badly.
Not that badly. That's right. So it was, I mean, my mom, she was just immaculate with my food. I was thinking it's for my mom and dad. I was at home, and throughout my whole career, I didn't have to worry about a lot of things that a lot of other athletes had to. So that's where I think it's so exciting to elevate that ability to, compensate athletes and to support them while they're training and reward them as well. I've spoken to so many athletes that have been like, oh my gosh, if I could only focus 100% without worrying about my, how I'm making my money or juggling jobs, bringing back bottles to the depot, getting money for them. Like, I mean, it's the things we do. It's quite amazing just to get by and to do what we love.
So I'm curious about trans athletes. Are they going to be able to compete in their gender preference category?
That's right. How they identify. And they definitely are able to come and compete in our games. They are enhanced. They do go through, modifications. And but they're welcome 100% at our games.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems like a fairly controversial decision. Have you had much pushback on that?
Just a little bit, but more so I kind of say, well, trans athletes can be in our games, and, the people who do not want to be around enhancements, then they should remain in the Olympics. That's, so now there's two categories, there's two places to go.
That's a really nice compromise, because it does give them a place to compete, and it gives other people who don't want to a place to compete. So you're kind of, it's a very nice compromise. I like what you guys are doing there.
Thank you.
So I'm actually curious about your role as your role in athletic relations. What is your job? Athlete relator? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What is that role? What do you do?
Well, there's, with all the different athletes that reach out to us, they get funneled to me, and I do a discovery interview with them. I find out, how they found us, what their passions are, what their goals are, what they've been through. So I learn about them, and the stories have been so amazing, actually. And it gets me all excited, because all of a sudden I feel like, I'm rooting for you. And I just feel like there's so many amazing people out there that just need to be discovered. And some have already been discovered, but, of course, under the Olympic flag, the Olympic conditions, and they are very interested, in coming to our side. And then you have some athletes that have never been in a games that have an amazing story as well, and have just that same drive and that passion to tap into their human potential, and other athletes that have been like, I was robbed, an opportunity, in one avenue, and now they feel that this is like their second chance at being able to come and participate and really push the limits for their sport that they do and their abilities, and it becomes almost a personal thing. It's not about your country and trying to make people proud, but really it becomes really about themselves realizing what they're able to do. And I think they really feel heard with us. And I'm really wanting to be that ear that listens to their stories. And you never know, there could be something I think would be really beautiful is to include their stories in the documentary that they're looking into, that they're actually, in the process of finalizing. So it's going to be exciting. Yeah.
Do you know, can you give me any details on the documentary?
I can't. However, look forward to it. Look forward to hearing more about it. It's just so neat. The attention, like the producers that have come forth. I mean, we've just been inundated with people wanting to do documentary because it's so unique. It's a revolution, like I said. It's a movement, and we need to document this. It's elevating humans. It's elevating sport, elevating science, and educating. There's so much coming out of this.
I was listening to an interview with Derek from More Plates, More Dates. He's a YouTuber. He talks a lot about steroids, and he was saying that he's very excited for the Enhanced Games because athletes are going to be given a chance to take particularly drugs which help with recovery, because the Olympics apparently bans a lot of substances that would help the athletes prevent injuries, recover from things more quickly, and overall help boost their health. Have you had a lot of examples of athletes using these kinds of enhancements?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I was saying before, the ones that I was using, the natural forms that were properly absorbed in the system, and, that of course would not be detected whatsoever because it's all natural. Thank goodness I had that knowledge, and I shared that knowledge with people because I never wanted to compete against somebody that was at a disadvantage of being injured or something. I always wanted everyone to be at top-notch shape so that I knew that however I performed, that was because I had that's what I considered the fair competition. So when I just want to take this opportunity. You mentioned drugs. Now we're actually trying to remove the D word and use a new vocabulary, which is enhancements, which are enhancements or performance enhancements or enhancement supplementation. So we're really trying to utilize that so that again we remove that stigma and we don't make it like a dirty word. Because there is, there's so much good when done properly. So I hope that I kind of got sidetracked with that little lesson on vocabulary. But I hope that answered a bit of everything.
I actually wanted to circle back on brain injuries.
Sure.
So I'm wondering what your like a little bit more about your personal experience with brain injuries. Like, did you have a specific moment in which you really think it happened? Like you think or do you think it was just kind of like many little instances of trauma for yourself?
During my career, every run down a track has micro vibrations, like micro concussions, essentially. And so I've never been diagnosed with a concussion. However, when I think about, the crashes that I experienced as an athlete, there's undoubtedly, concussions within my career that just was, they were overlooked. I do remember one particular time that I didn't crash, but it was on the edge to the point that my head, I remember, kind of suffered a quick snap. And I felt or almost heard like a bit of a dong, like a bell or some sort. But that was it. I got out of the sled. I felt very frazzled a little bit, because of the adrenaline and stuff. But again, those little symptoms of feeling frazzled or feeling like unable to balance yourself or focus is off, or all these little things are little symptoms of the brain that has experienced some type of trauma. So over the course of several years and several runs, and, that eventually accumulates. So you don't necessarily have to have that one big, egg cracker to make it considered a brain injury. And so I think that that education, for anybody around the world, knowing about brain injuries is something I'm very passionate about, because I really think a lot of people are walking around unknowing that they have one. And it's life-changing when you can go and get a brain map done and then find out where the dysfunction is occurring. You can either be instructed on how to better your brain, whether it's biofeedback, so like rewiring with the technology that they have at these clinics. The one particular one that I was at is called Myosymmetries, which you can find them online, and that's out where I live. But similar things that they do could exist around the world. And one of the other things as well is I know an amazing neuroscientist, Dr. Kristen Willemeyer, and she's come out with a book called Biohack Your Brain. And that has educated me on nutrition for the brain, supplementation for the brain, hydration and sleep for the brain, physical fitness for the brain. So everything is about the brain. This is what runs you. Look after it, because it'll look after the rest of you. So it really has changed my life around that. And those are little things, for example, that being I'm on the Athlete Advisory Commission for the Enhanced Games. And I'm able to consult, with my colleagues. I have 5 other ones, and 3 other ones are actually Olympians as well from other countries. And 2 others are athletes, but also we have a drone racer as well. Anyways, we all kind of get together, and with our president, Dr. Aaron King D'Souza, and we have a brainstorming session around certain topics where we can enhance the system of how the athlete should be treated, what should be provided for the athlete, our experiences as athletes and our lived experiences on how they can contribute to better the system, better, the business model around protocol, or how to, what to provide for the athletes. So I really feel that my experience with these brain injuries, and that is very purposeful for that role in particular, to bring that attention there, and to share that with our athletes that will be coming, and of course openly with the world of athletics and of the general population.
Mm.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with the Enhanced Games to begin with?
That's a very good question. And I felt like I won the lottery because they reached out to me on LinkedIn, and they saw that I had posted not only that I am an Olympian, but also that I was an advocate for stem cell and exosome regenerative therapy. So I have an amazing naturopath that was one of the first people in Canada to have a clinic and to do stem cell rejuvenation and therapy on people. And he was changing lives. He was saving lives. It was unbelievable what that man was doing. Anyways, they shut down his clinic because they made it so that now, it became illegal. Now there's many so-called theories around why that would happen. But he said, you know what? I've seen too much. I've helped too much. I've done too much. I need to continue this. And so, he continues down in Mexico, and he goes down there with people that, are in need of therapy. And myself, I went down, to have my knee, with stem cells. And I really, really would love to be able to go down to do the exosome and stem cell therapy, but not only for my body, my whole body for rejuvenation, but also my brain, because the exosomes penetrate the blood-brain barrier, and they're able to go in there and heal things from neurological conditions, to illnesses like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS. Like it's such an amazing field of study. And so they were really excited when they saw me, and they spoke with me, because they're like, wow, like she really embraces science. And of course I had all my other experiences as an athlete. And, so they said, we'd really like you to join us. Please consider it. And honestly, I knew right away. Like they literally, they said, well, you go home, think about it, and I just wanted to say, no, I already know,
Sometimes you just know.
Yeah. Like that's how I was. And I just, I knew in my gut and my heart, it was a real like aha moment. It was like all of what I've ever done in my life, plus all my skills and everything that I've ever wanted to contribute to the world has really been fulfilled through the Enhanced Games in my role and what I'm doing now, and hopefully more things. I really just feel so fulfilled, because as an athlete, you retire and you think, oh my gosh, I have all this, all these skills, all this experience, all this, learned things, and people have invested in you. You've invested in yourself. I just find it so, so hard when you're, pushed to the side as if like you're useless. And I really feel that there's so many athletes, so many alumni, Olympic alumni, and alumni, even, when you look at businesses, people that are really almost discarded. And I really think that there's so much, not only human capital, what they've invested in themselves and their education and their knowledge and their experience, but also their social capital, which is their network, their relationships. People often feel like they know you when they spend time with you by watching you on TV or reading about you or, hearing about you on the radio or whatever. And you develop their trust and their respect, and they can relate with standards that you believe in. And, so this social capital is very valuable. And I think that people need to realize that alumni have a lot of it, and to really put their skills at use. So it's, I I really see this rising up of athletes, not only while they're in their careers, but we're also looking at the transition out of career and how best to show value of what they can bring, but also respect them by giving them additional value in their retirement as well. And all these things are things that we're developing.
It's amazing because athletes are some of the hardest working people in the world. Like you, and we just discard them. Like so many Olympic athletes after the Olympics end up with just starting afresh with careers. It's hard for them to transition into good, solid careers, but they're so hardworking and dedicated. You think that they would just be snapped up. Like it's incredible, really. I'm glad that the Enhanced Games is giving them more of a place to go, and hopefully there will be more mentorship roles available and more. I'm hoping there will be a lot more. You'll be able to take on all that amazing capital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really think that there's going to be strong alumni coming from this because they're really going to be feeling respected. And don't get me wrong, in the Olympics, they do have alumni. They do have, World Olympians Association, and they have chapters in every country where Olympians, Olympic alumni come together and stuff. There's a lot of things that go on, but there's also just a certain tiers of athletes that, are, say, privileged to do certain things. But they're not necessarily the only ones that can do those roles or even the best people for those roles just because they have a gold medal. It's, there's a lot of passion in Olympians, and you see that also in a lot of the service work that they do and the charities that they back. And I really think that they're going to realize that our games are not only, about advancing, in the sport area, but also just advancing, the athlete, in society, in life, and, respecting their journey and, highlighting them and also bringing exposure to the athletes while they are competing. There's so much opportunity for the athlete to monetize themselves, things that really need to be considered.
Are athletes allowed to take on sponsorships?
Yes, there are sponsors that athletes will have. I don't know, of course, what they've decided, if there's any, particular rules, but we're very much looking at, say, the Formula One kind of system, multiple sponsors, not the monopoly of one only. We're very much looking at many sponsors as well as showcasing what's out there. And
that's really good. I think one of the ways that the UFC has been fairly controversial is because I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it seems like the UFC themselves took on one sponsor, and so that one sponsor has their name on all of the athletes' shorts. And so the athletes themselves can't take on individual sponsors and make more money. So some athletes are making like $50,000 for a fight, and they only fight once a year or so. And so, they're making, it's like an okay salary, and they're just world-class performers. They're working so hard, and they can afford like a very middle-class lifestyle because the UFC doesn't allow them to take on sponsors. So I'm really hoping, and it seems like you guys are kind of headed towards this direction of kind of allowing them, just like the Formula One model of just taking on their own sponsors, being responsible for their own capital in a way, so that sounds like a much better model of doing things.
Yeah, we want the athletes to thrive. We want them to, participate not only for the sport, but be part of, the business. There's great opportunity for them to potentially earn shares profit sharing. I mean, all those things are being spoken about. So it's really, the business model is really athlete focused, and of course, venture capitalist focused, for profitability. But sharing in the wealth, not keeping it, to those running the show, because they're, again, it's that's to us more like fair sport. And
Are you still taking sponsors? Are you still taking venture capitalists? Are you still taking investments right now?
They're very open to speak to some, if you know any, but they have been speaking to several. So I'm not sure of the framework. We'd have to discuss that with our president, Aaron D'Souza, to know where we're at with all that. But I know that if there's any interest, you can go to the enhance.org website, and info@enhance.org is one way to communicate with them there, or reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to connect you.
I mean, I have a lot of trust in Peter Thiel. I'm a big fan of his book 0 to 1. So hearing that he invested in this is a major green flag for me.
Oh, good. Yeah, he's a big supporter.
Yeah. Look, I might finish this call there. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure. Was mine, of course, to be asked to come and speak with you. And I'm just so excited that there's interest, and that you're now, can I safely say, an ally?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I really hope that, if there's ever any additional things that you need to know, or viewers want to know, they could reach out. I am also found on Instagram, Olympian Christina Smith. You can find me there, or else reach out through the website as well. And if any other media are interested, there's, other ways to find us, and through the media at enhance.org. And so we're just, we're building an empire, and it's really going to be exciting these years to come. And I'm glad you're on board.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Cristina. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah. Thank you so much.